Welcome to this explainer. We hear about the cloud absolutely all the time, right? Cloud native, cloud first. Honestly, it makes it sound like everything is just floating effortlessly up there in the sky. But today, we're going to peel back those layers. We're looking beneath all that flashy cutting-edge tech to see the real concrete and steel bedrock of modern business operations. We're talking about the crucial infrastructure that actually lets organizations deploy applications, wrangle massive amounts of data, and keep the lights on day in and day out.
So you gotta wonder, what actually keeps the cloud afloat? I mean, behind every single web app that loads in a blink and every massive database that never goes down, there is a highly reliable, foundational operating system doing the heavy lifting. You simply cannot build a towering cloud architecture on a shaky foundation. It just doesn't work.
Let's dive into the cloud's invisible backbone, which really is the foundation of digital transformation. For years, the unsung workhorse powering this massive global shift has been CentOS, a freely available Linux distribution built right out of the incredibly robust Red Hat Enterprise Linux ecosystem.
Which brings us to Pillar 1, stability, and exactly why cloud stability matters so much. Because when we talk about enterprise infrastructure, let's be real, there are absolutely zero off hours on the modern internet. It all comes down to a pretty stark contrast: predictable performance versus operational disruptions. On one side, you have predictable performance under super demanding workloads. That is literally peace of mind for system administrators and IT leaders. On the flip side, operational disruptions. And let me tell you, downtime instantly translates to bleeding money and losing hard-earned customer trust. That is exactly why businesses flock to CentOS. Its mature ecosystem delivered that predictability and stopped those costly disruptions dead in their tracks.
So, what do we mean by enterprise-grade workloads? Basically, we're talking about mission-critical applications, huge databases, and virtual machines that have to run with total operational consistency, and they have to do it without sacrificing an ounce of performance. When you standardize these massive deployments onto a stable platform, it makes managing, maintaining, and troubleshooting your infrastructure so much easier. It's a total game-changer for system administration.
All right, moving on to Pillar 2, scalability. Specifically, virtualization and infinite scalability. Because honestly, what good is a perfectly stable server if it just completely crumbles the second you get a huge, unexpected spike in web traffic?
To handle those crazy surges, the operating system relies on supported virtualization platforms, industry heavyweights like KVM, VMware, and Xen. Integrating these is absolutely huge. It allows businesses to efficiently create and manage virtual machines, meaning you can maximize the hardware you already have and seriously cut down on overall infrastructure costs. You are getting the absolute most bang for your buck out of your physical servers.
And this all feeds directly into a much broader orchestration process. Modern cloud environments are incredibly dynamic. The process is pretty straightforward. You monitor changing demand, automate your resource management, and rapidly deploy workloads. That is exactly how IT teams dynamically scale up or down on the fly based on real-time business needs. It empowers admins to keep performance incredibly consistent, no matter how much the environment grows.
Now for Pillar 3, security and securing enterprise environments. Because all that amazing scalability and heavy workload management means absolutely nothing if your system is left vulnerable to attacks. When we look at compliance and cybersecurity standards, sticking to strict industry regulations is just as critical as raw computing performance. Organizations today are operating in hyper-competitive, data-driven markets. In this landscape, a security breach isn't just a technical glitch. It is a massive, company-ending liability. So the operating system literally has to act as an unshakable fortress for all the applications sitting on top of it. To build that fortress, administrators rely on built-in defenses right out of the box. We're talking SC Linux capabilities, robust firewall management tools, highly granular user access controls, and really strict authentication mechanisms. By tapping into these features, you're actively neutralizing vulnerabilities right at the base level. Security isn't just bolted on as an afterthought here. It's baked right into the very DNA of the system managing the hardware. So, where do we go from here? Let's look at the future of Cloud Linux and its legacy of resilience. Tech ecosystems are always evolving, but Linux continues to absolutely dominate the cloud globally. Even the newest, flashiest tech, things like Kubernetes, DevOps automation, cloud-native apps, and even artificial intelligence, they all rely completely on these highly stable Linux foundations. There's a perfect takeaway for this. Stability, security, and scalability will continue to be critical success factors for organizations seeking to maximize the benefits of cloud technologies. As companies relentlessly push forward into their digital transformations, those core foundational principles that made CentOS legendary remain just as vital as ever. You literally cannot innovate safely or efficiently without a resilient, secure, and scalable environment backing you up from underneath. Which leads me to wrap up this explainer with one really vital question for you to reflect on. How strong is your organization's digital foundation? Seriously, as you plan your next major digital initiative or your next big cloud migration, take a hard look at the bedrock your infrastructure is sitting on. Can it truly support your future innovation, your security needs, and your long-term resilience? Thank you so much for joining me as we unpack the true architecture of the cloud. And remember, always build on solid ground.